So first, I'd like to bring up Ali Morano. She is the Global Head of Tech for Social Good at our Investing and Innovation partner, JPMorgan Chase. The focus of Ali's work is building community by uniting staff through purpose and skills-driven engagement. In the last year alone, stay tuned for some numbers. In the last year alone, JPMorgan Chase programs have seen 56,000 employees deliver 383,000 volunteer hours on just under 4,000 different projects and communities worldwide. And I'm sure Ali will tell us those numbers are wrong or need to be updated. She's here to tell us about the programs and how they're benefiting both the communities and the organizations, but also the employees in JPMorgan Chase. So welcome, Ali, to MTech Next. Okay, so I don't know about those numbers, and you may not have the latest.
I'm distracted by that little clip. I don't know where you got that, but I just have to, as a caveat, that clip was taken during the pandemic.
You can tell it's in your home.
No,
right?
no, it's in my husband's childhood bedroom.
Oh dear.
Where I was doing a podcast and they needed lighting, and they said, "You need better lighting." I'm like, "I don't have lighting." I had my father-in-law digging in his basement to get it was just horrible. So very pandemic,
right.
Pandemic hair. It was just not
right.
good.
No, it's fine. It's great. Well, no one ever likes the sight of themselves on, yeah. So I would love it if you could just kind of set the stage for us. Like from a 30,000 square foot overview, what are the programs you're doing at JPMorgan Chase? Help us understand sort of what's going on so we're all on the same page.
Sure. So in essence, what we do at JPMorgan is we run a social impact practice. You mentioned Tech for Social Good. I would say we split the work that we do at probably about 60-40, which means 60% is heavily embedded in the technology space, and 40% really firm-wide with all different skill sets. We focus on helping JPMorgan be a good corporate citizen, but also trying to engage our staff in very experiential ways, as well as our customers and clients, and connecting them to their philanthropic interests. So we do it from cradle to career. So we say, or crayon to career is probably better to say. So we work with youth, number of youth-based programming. We do social good hackathons, which is really a great way to assess talent. We work as well in what we call Force for Good, which is a project-based area. Huge focus on skills first in a practice that we call emerging talent, and then have a go-to-market strategy on how we go to diversity conferences.
Right. Fantastic. Okay. So can you talk about some of the benefits you've seen in these programs? I mean, I know the work itself is obviously a benefit for not only the person doing the work, but the organization or the community that they're working in, but also what that has meant. I mean, I don't want to ask this question in a way that sounds cynical, but I think there's also organizational benefit for JPMorgan Chase and the employees' connection to the company. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it's interesting that you phrase it that way, that you don't want to sound cynical. When I first started, I felt like when we were starting this practice, that we almost felt like we had to apologize. And I think people felt like, is it okay if at some point we do good and somebody writes a story about this? And,
right.
This is philanthropy in a sense, but it's not philanthropy in the purest sense of the word that we don't want anybody to find out about it. We're not doing it for the headline, but we're okay with the headline because we want people to understand that we are an organization at its core that focuses on social good and giving back. So why it matters, it's, I felt like some of the speakers earlier today were actually doing my pitch for me. It brings a sense of community, especially post-pandemic. How do you bring people together in ways, whether they're virtual or in person? So it brings a sense of community to staff. It connects our customers, clients, and talent, whether they be existing or ones that we're looking to attract, to authentic philanthropic connections. So we can say, if you're banking with JPMorgan, oh, by the way, you're interested in education or you're interested in the environment, I can work with those organizations that matter to you and help further their missions. And it also brings skills, and true experiences that are really hard to replicate in a classroom, in an online training. So we're putting people in real life situations.
And do you find that, particularly in the recruitment, one of the things that has come up here, and I know it's a topic in the workplace of the future discussions that are happening all over the place, that millennial employees or prospective employees have a different, more progressive sense for the importance of their job to have meaning. So that's a hypothesis. I'm not sure that that's true, but it is a hypothesis that we certainly heard other people express. Then I've also heard that post-pandemic, and I think it was up here on the screen, there's a lot more people asking themselves, what am I, what's my life for?
Right.
Do you find that, so I guess where I'm wondering is in terms of recruitment and job satisfaction, is it stronger with the millennials? Is it making things easier with millennials, or is it more widespread because it is more of a more widespread change after the pandemic? Or what are the patterns you see?
There's a lot written about with the millennials that millennials want to work at a place that will give them purpose. So it's definitely big there, but I don't really see a huge generational difference.
Interesting, yeah.
I did see during the pandemic, suddenly we were even more popular. We had been unbelievably busy, and then people said, oh my gosh, we have all this purposeful work. How do I get engaged?
Yeah.
How do I feel like, to your point, to do something more beyond my day job? And within JPMorgan, when we do it, it's part of your day job.
Yeah.
So it's very much created as something that you can do to actually better yourself, as well as better the communities where we live and work. We always say it that way because we like to give back locally, so that people can drive home at night. They can actually say, that's something that mattered to me, and it makes a much more personal connection.
Yeah. Have you seen employees that might have previously thought, it's my job, I only go there to work, expand their understanding of what it might mean to be a fully actualized employee, or has it been contagious beyond people who maybe you could have always predicted would be interested in that? Have you seen some of the more stuck in the mud?
Yes, so we like to say there's 3 different types of employees, and how they'll react to the social impact work that we'll do. There's those that, to your point, when they're interviewing, they're saying, what can I do? Will I be able to volunteer? Will I be able to engage? Is there opportunity? They're always going to be excited. And when the answer is with a resounding yes, we have a ton of opportunity for you. There's those that say, I joined here to do X, and I only want to do X. It's nice that you do that, but that's okay. It's, that's for other people. And then there's those who kind of straddle on both sides, and they're just like, well, tell me a little bit about it. I might try something shorter term. And suddenly they get connected to it, and they realize, wow, this is actually rather infectious. I want to do more. And so-called drink the Kool-Aid, if you will, who get really excited. So I think it's really is about a 2/3, 1/3 split. I think a lot of people like to know that it's happening and don't necessarily have the time or energy to engage right now. So what's really important is that we meet people where they are. So we have opportunities to engage of different lengths, of different types of organizations. We're mission agnostic. So because we're not in the foundation, we don't have to do certain giving priorities. We can actually engage where people are most interested.
So everyone's battling for talent. That is, certainly the theme. This is the job seekers market, or at least it has been. I mean, that may be changing. But do you talk about what these programs mean for attracting and retaining talent? But specifically, how do you talk about them? Because I can imagine there are lots of intrinsic and explicit rewards, right? And I guess the question is, how do you know when to emphasize which to a potential hire?
So hires will ask, as you were saying before, when they're being interviewed, what are the opportunities? We will pitch it as ways to engage. We'll tell our story. We have a ton of videos and conversation where we can say, we show real case studies of things that we've been able to do, and it connects very personally to individuals. That being said, when we say how we talk about it, with this whole challenge for talent, we're skills first when it comes to hiring. So that means that we care about degrees, but it's not necessarily the first thing that we're looking for, or even need, for that matter. So when we think about talent, if you only look for talent in one way, you're only going to find a smaller group of talent. So especially in our technology practice, but really across the firm, we don't require a degree. So we're finding talent that are being educated differently. And that's really been tremendous for us to open up the opportunity. We don't lower our requirement for skills and what they need, but we're looking for talent who's actually ready to come in, and they're curious and they're excited, and we have the opportunity, and we'll focus there first.
Excellent. And how do you come up with the ideas about which projects to work on? Can the employee say, I really care about this issue and I found this
Absolutely.
organization?
Yeah, so we like to consider it an employee benefit. So employees can come to us and say, my brother, he works at this organization. Would you consider doing something with them? Or I'm on the board of this organization. Would you consider doing something with them? We do have the foundation that we work with, and we'll go to our foundation and we'll look at their organizations, and sometimes we'll deepen a partnership by working with them. It could be our clients. Our clients will come in and say, this organization matters to me. So very much when I started this 11 years ago, I was so-called, as you would say in the social good space, dialing for dollars, picking up the phone and saying, hey, I'm at JPMorgan, we have 50,000 plus employees. Would you be interested in us helping? And people are like, helping what? With my tech? If you'd help me with my banking, maybe, but not my tech. We fast forward to where we are today. We have a ton of repeat customers. We have thousands of applications for hundreds of spots for us to engage with people all year round. So we've hit a nice stride. But first and foremost, we like the repeat. We like the ones that come to us from our customers or from our staff, because those are the ones that are going to resonate and matter most.
And how do you know, if I can ask a personal question, Allie, how do you know when you're doing a good job?
Well, our customers will certainly tell us, and we have a number of checkpoints in. So what we have today, when people see the practice that we've built, we didn't build this on day one. We've been iterating over time. I'm very comfortable in the space of let's just try it.
Yeah.
Let's just kind of throw spaghetti up at the wall and see what sticks, and we'll just iterate, in a very agile way. So we have just constantly have checks and balances in place. So it's very much a hub and spoke model. So people are kind of making sure that the customers are getting what they need, and this is really the social good organizations that we're delivering for. So
the customers are the organizations, the charities, the
so that's
not-for-profits.
yes. I'm kind of using the word a bit casually, but yes. So our clients would be the social good organizations, but it could also be one of our high net worth customers that comes in and is banking with us, and they say, I'm on the board of this organization. I want you doing something. So then we're treating them in a different way and making sure that they're engaged and they're being updated on the work that we're doing. So we're very communicative. We have access to, we let people know what's going on regularly throughout the project, if you will. Like we do it in sprint basis so people understand where we are and where things are going.
So we can take questions, and if you've got a question, I'd encourage you to sort of raise your hand and look for a mic to be handed to you. But let me ask you a few more here, Allie. So DEI/belonging, how does that fit into the overall ecosystem around social impact?
It's huge.
The big issue.
When you think about DE&I and the idea of building empathy and thinking about inclusion, I think empathy is very much closely related to that, and everybody says that's one of the biggest leadership skills. And unfortunately, one of the ways that a lot of companies today are training on that is they're literally sending links or putting you in a classroom saying, let me teach you about how to be more empathetic. And because it's hard to do that unless you have a real experience. When we put together hundreds of projects every year and we let people go work in an environment and experience something that they would not really get in their day job, we're building those skills. So without even directly trying, we're exposing our staff to different opportunities, to different populations, to different backgrounds, different educations. And that's a huge part of what we do, and working with organizations or individuals who might not have actually been regularly represented amongst their peers within JPMorgan.
Is it hard? Is it hard, when you've got folks who are, who are in challenging life circumstances next to folks who are, have had many advantages? I'm not suggesting they haven't worked or earned those advantages, but probably had some at least better luck. What is that interaction like? Can you tell us a story about how that, and I think the empathy piece is so important. I also think that kind of seeing one another as people, as human beings is, I don't quite know what the words are, but I imagine that to be both greatly rewarding and not necessarily easy.
It's really important that we talk to our staff before they go to engage with an organization. We set them up for what they're about to see. And who they're about to work with. Now, we don't assume that everybody on our staff has come from a background where they haven't had any challenges, especially the more that we recruit in different ways. We have the same staff and they're serving populations of where they came from. So that's extremely rewarding for them. But to be fair to your point, sometimes we have to explain to them, like, listen, these individuals are coming from different types of backgrounds. Even with talent that we're hiring in, your person may be coming in late today because they have a family that's in crisis. Their dad may have gone to jail last night and they are late because they have to now take care of their kid's sister and get them off to school. So we give them a bit of a reality check and we set them up for what it is so that they're very responsive. Or when the apprentices or young people coming from different backgrounds are coming on site and our staff are all ready to go get their $5 coffee, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's like, why don't we just go to the pantry and get a free one?
Right.
So we're talking to them about recognize that people come from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And I think we focused on that more in the beginning, and it was more of a concern for me. I think for me, I was so worried because I was new to corporate. I was coming from the nonprofit space, and I was very sensitive, like, please don't let these corporate people, like, be mean to all these good people that are just trying to get by.
Yeah.
But it's never really been a problem, I think, but it's something that we're careful to at least make an awareness of before anything goes wrong.
Yeah. So what are some lessons or advice you would give folks here who have been running or responsible for a lot of large teams at companies through this pandemic? What is advice that you have for them about how to help their staff manage the challenges of life and work, as we look ahead, hopefully post-pandemic?
Yeah, I definitely think we're post-pandemic. But
Your lips, God's ears.
Yes, exactly. When you think about social impact, you want companies to do it in authentic ways. Too many companies today are saying, well, I need an ESG report, environment, social, and governance. I need a CSR report. So let's just throw a program out there and let's say we've done this. Or I need to talk about DE&I or SDG. It's pick your acronym.
Yeah.
You're going to be found out. There's greenwashing, pinkwashing, any color of the rainbow. It's not easy to be authentic, but it's a lot easier to be found out when you're not.
Yeah.
So start with what matters to you. Start with what's going to matter to your staff so that you can, and then start small. Find ways to engage and find your customers that actually want you to help them. So it's just when it's less forced, it's much easier. So what we have today at JPMorgan grew rather organically, but it just made sense because we did it thoughtfully, we did it with intention, and I think people recognize that we were doing it all for the right reasons.
Yeah, yeah. I've got a question, nice question, I think, that's come in from Sarah from online. How do you teach empathy in a world where isolation and social media and sort of the fractionalization of our society has dissolved? So the question goes, people's general empathy.
That's a loaded question.
The world is waiting for your answer.
No,
so no pressure, Allie.
I think it's what we say is that when you're truly empathetic, you feel like you can walk a mile in somebody else's shoes. And the best way to do that is to take somebody and put them in a situation with somebody else. So when we engage with organizations, and even when we were doing it virtually, it was really important for us to actually get to know the organization and to go on site and to spend time to shadow, to actually understand what was their challenges on a regular basis and how can we address them for them. So it's not just, hey, tell us what your challenge is, we're going to go solve it, and then we'll go throw it over the wall when we're done. It's a very much back and forth engagement. And I think that the effort that takes, when you come from an organization, when you're working in enterprise technology and everything, you have every resource at your disposal, and then you put them in a situation where you can't deliver in that way. You have to be crafty, you have to be listening, you have to be thinking about what makes sense, and you teach them how to listen. And I really think that empathy and listening skills go hand in hand, and we put them in the situations where they're having a lot of opportunity to practice that in a so-called safe space over an extended period of time.
So we are running down to the very end here, Allie, and I know you've got a hard stop to jump on a train, but I do want to thank you, and if we can advance the slides. So I do want to thank you for joining us, and I think it's interesting to see. I've got lots of ideas popping in my head for our small company about how we might take a page out of your book, and I certainly appreciate all the good ideas and stories you shared with us. So thank you.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Good luck getting your train.
Thank you.
Yeah.